The order comes at 0600 hours, June 21st, 1944. Battalion commander hands me the execution warrant, signed by division commander, countersigned by theater judge advocate. Everything legal, everything proper, everything impossible. Private Daniel Morrison, serial number 3274158, convicted by General Court-Martial of desertion in the face of the enemy, sentenced to death by firing squad, sentenced to be carried out at dawn, June 22nd, 1944. I'm to command the execution, select the firing squad, ensure proper military procedure, maintain discipline, show the company what happens to deserters. The paperwork is clean, precise, bureaucratic language describing how to kill a 19-year-old kid. I read it 3 times, hoping I've misunderstood, hoping there's some clause, some exception, some way this isn't happening. But the order is clear, unambiguous. Daniel Morrison is to be executed, and I'm the officer responsible for carrying it out. My hands shake holding the paper. My stomach turns. 27 years old, commanding a rifle company, now ordered to execute one of my own men. The battalion commander sees my reaction. His voice is firm, but not unkind. Captain, I know this is difficult, but discipline must be maintained. Men need to know desertion carries consequences, need to know we're serious about this. He's right. Intellectually, I understand. Desertion in combat threatens everyone. One man running can trigger mass panic, can break a unit, can get everyone killed. But this is Daniel Morrison, kid from Iowa, who joined up in '42, who trained at Fort Benning, who landed on Omaha Beach, who fought through the hedgerows until he didn't. The battalion commander continues. Morrison's desertion cost 3 lives. His squad was overrun because he wasn't there. Because his position was unmanned, 3 good soldiers died because he ran. That part is true, indisputably true. Daniel's absence created a gap in the line. Germans exploited it. 3 men killed. But does that justify execution? Does military necessity override human compassion? Does maintaining discipline require killing a terrified kid? The firing squad will be drawn from his platoon, volunteers only, men who served with him, men who understand what his cowardice cost. Volunteers, men willing to shoot their former comrade, men angry enough about the deaths to pull trigger without hesitation. I've seen the platoon, seen their faces when they talk about Daniel, seen the hatred mixed with contempt. They'll volunteer, no question. They want this, want justice, want revenge, want to prove they're not cowards like Morrison. The execution will be at 0600 hours, behind the barn at grid coordinates you'll be provided. Chaplain will be available if Morrison requests. You'll command the squad. You'll give the order to fire. The order to fire. The order that kills. The words that end a life. Do you understand your orders, Captain? I snap to attention, muscle memory overriding moral conflict, trained response to superior officer. Yes, sir, I understand. Good. Dismissed. And Captain, I know this is hard, but you're doing your duty, maintaining discipline, protecting the rest of the company. I salute, turn, walk out. The execution warrant folded in my pocket. 24 hours until I kill Private Daniel Morrison.
I became an officer in 1942, graduated from Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning, commissioned as Second Lieutenant, Infantry Branch. The training emphasized leadership, decision-making, responsibility, the weight of command. They taught us tactics, logistics, weapons, how to read terrain, how to coordinate fire support, how to lead men in combat. They taught us about military justice, about maintaining discipline, about the necessity of punishment, about making hard decisions. But they never taught us this, never prepared us for ordering execution, never explained how to look a terrified kid in the eyes and command his death. I deployed to England in '43, assigned to 3rd Infantry Division, took command of Able Company, 150 men who would follow me into combat. D-Day came June 6th. We landed on Omaha Beach, fought through the chaos, established beachhead, pushed inland. Lost 30 men that first day, killed or wounded. The violence immediate and overwhelming. Daniel Morrison was in 2nd Platoon, rifleman, average soldier, nothing exceptional, nothing problematic. He did his job, followed orders, kept his position, functioned adequately in combat. The hedgerow fighting was brutal, close range, claustrophobic. Germans defending every field, every wall, every ditch. We'd take 50 yards, lose men doing it, then do it again the next day, grinding advance through Normandy countryside. Daniel fought through 2 weeks of this, participated in attacks, stood his post, survived when others didn't. Then came June 19th, heavy German counterattack, caught us in exposed position, mortars and machine guns, men dying, chaos and terror. I was coordinating defense, calling for artillery, trying to hold the line against superior force. Daniel's squad was on the left flank, critical position. If they broke, the whole company could be rolled up. The squad leader, Sergeant Miller, good NCO, veteran of Sicily, radioed that they were taking casualties, needed support, but holding. Then 15 minutes later, different voice on the radio. Corporal Jensen, panic in his tone. "Captain, Morrison's gone. He ran. His position is unmanned. We're getting flanked." Morrison ran, abandoned his post, left a gap in the line, and Germans poured through. 3 men died before we could stabilize, before I could shift forces, before we could close the gap Morrison left. Sergeant Miller, veteran who'd survived 3 campaigns, killed in the breach. 2 privates, kids younger than Morrison, died trying to cover his abandoned position. After we repulsed the attack, after we counted casualties, after we realized what happened, the platoon was furious. They wanted Morrison found, wanted justice, wanted him punished. The military police located him 2 days later, hiding in a barn 3 miles behind our lines, terrified, incoherent, broken. They brought him back in handcuffs, the platoon watching silently, faces hard, contempt obvious. Court-martial was convened within 24 hours. Military justice swift and certain. Battalion commander presided. 2 other officers as panel. Daniel pleaded guilty, didn't deny running, just kept saying he was sorry, that he was scared, that he couldn't take it anymore. The panel deliberated 30 minutes, returned verdict, guilty. Sentence, death, by firing squad. Standard punishment for desertion in the face of the enemy, codified in articles of war, designed to maintain discipline, to prevent others from running. And now, 48 hours after verdict, I'm ordered to execute the sentence, to kill one of my own soldiers, to maintain discipline through death.
I spend the day after receiving orders, trying to process what I have to do, trying to reconcile duty with humanity, trying to find a way to refuse that doesn't exist. Military law is clear. Desertion under fire is capital offense. Sentence is mandatory. Execution is required. I can't refuse, can't appeal, can't delay beyond the authorized 24 hours. Refusing the order means court-martial, means end of my career, means failing my own duty while punishing Daniel for failing his. So I prepare, mechanically, professionally, following procedure while dying inside. First, I select the location, behind the barn battalion specified, isolated, away from the rest of the company, but visible enough that word will spread. Then I request volunteers for firing squad, call the platoon together, explain what's needed. Every man volunteers, all 37, more than I expected, more than I need. They want this, want to participate, want to be the ones who restore discipline through Daniel's death. I select 8 men, mix of experience levels, all angry about the deaths, all believing this is justice. Brief them on procedure, 12-pace distance, aim for center mass, fire on my command. Mechanical details that make murder seem professional. The chaplain visits Daniel in the stockade, offers spiritual counsel. Daniel refuses, says he doesn't deserve comfort, doesn't deserve absolution. I visit him that evening, required commander's visit before execution, sitting across table in small room, guard outside. Daniel looks terrible, hasn't slept, hasn't eaten, face hollow, eyes empty. Captain, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it anymore. What do I say? How do I respond? Comfort is impossible. Judgment is unnecessary. He's dying tomorrow regardless. Daniel, tell me what happened. Tell me why you ran. He struggles to explain, words tumbling out between sobs, trying to make me understand what he barely understands himself. It was the mortars, Captain, the sound, the explosions, men screaming, pieces of them, everywhere. He describes the terror, the sensory overload, the moment when survival instinct overpowered training and duty. Miller was hit, right next to me. His leg, it was gone. He was screaming for his mother, and I ran. I didn't think, I just ran. The honest terror in his voice, the genuine remorse, the understanding that he failed, that men died because he failed. I'm a coward, Captain. I know that. I deserve this. The men deserve justice. I understand why I have to die. His acceptance, his willingness to die for his failure, it makes this worse. not better. Daniel, you're 19 years old. You made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but you don't deserve to die. Even as I say it, I know it's hollow. The decision isn't mine. The sentence is passed. I'm just the executioner. Captain, will you make it quick? Will you make sure that I don't suffer? He's asking me to kill him efficiently, to ensure clean death, to minimize his final terror. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, I'll make sure. It'll be quick. You won't feel anything. Lion, comforting lie. I have no idea if it'll be quick, if the firing squad will aim true, if his death will be instant or agonizing. But I lie because that's all I can give him. False reassurance, a pretense of mercy in mechanical execution.
Dawn comes too quickly. June 22nd, 05:30. I haven't slept. Spent the night reviewing procedure, trying to find courage I don't have. The firing squad assembles at 05:45. 8 men, rifles loaded with 7 live rounds and 1 blank. Traditional firing squad configuration, allowing each man to believe maybe his rifle held the blank. They're professional, faces hard, no doubt, no hesitation. They believe in this, believe Daniel must die to restore discipline. I brief them one final time. 12 paces, aim for center mass, fire on my command. Don't hesitate, make it clean. They nod, understand, grip their M1 Garands, ready to kill their former comrade. The chaplain arrives. I sent word Daniel refused spiritual counsel, but chaplain comes anyway. Duty to be present, to offer final prayers. The battalion commander is here too, witnessing, ensuring proper procedure, probably also ensuring I don't refuse, don't break at the last moment. At 05:55, the guards bring Daniel, hands tied behind back, no blindfold, because he refused it. Wants to see, wants to face death with eyes open. He walks steadily, more composed than I expected. 19-year-old accepting execution with dignity I couldn't manage at his age. They position him against the barn wall, rough wood behind him. Dawn light just breaking. Beautiful morning to die. The squad forms line 12 paces away, rifles at order arms, waiting for my command. Daniel looks at me. Our eyes meet across the distance, and I see forgiveness there, acceptance, resignation. The chaplain offered prayer. Daniel doesn't respond, just stands quietly, breathing slowly, preparing for death. I run through the procedure in my mind, learned it from manual, never imagined using it. First command, ready. The squad brings rifles to ready position. Second command, aim. Rifles come up, 8 barrels pointed at Daniel's chest. Third command, fire. Triggers pulled, Daniel dies. Simple, mechanical, efficient killing disguised as military procedure. The battalion commander nods, indicating I should proceed. No more delays. I take a deep breath, step forward,
raise my voice to command volume. Squad, attention! 8 men snap to rigid attention, rifles at order arms, perfect military bearing. Ready! The squad brings rifles to ready position. Daniel is 10 feet away. I can see his face clearly, see him fighting tears, see him trying to be brave. Aim! 8 rifles come up. 8 men sight down barrels, 8 fingers on triggers. Daniel's chest is the target. Now I'm supposed to pause. Traditional 5-second pause, allowing condemned man final moment, allowing the squad to steady aim. 5 seconds, 5 heartbeats, 5 breaths. Daniel and I locked in eternal moment. I see his lips moving, praying maybe, or saying goodbye, or just trying to think of anything except the bullets about to tear through him. 1 second. Daniel closes his eyes. Acceptance, surrender, waiting for death. 2 seconds. The squad is steady, professional, no wavering, no hesitation. 3 seconds. The battalion commander is watching, ensuring I complete the execution, ensuring discipline is maintained. 4 seconds. I realize I can't do this, can't give the command, can't kill Daniel Morrison. 5 seconds. The moment of choice. Duty versus conscience. Order versus humanity. What kind of officer am I? What kind of man am I?
In that 5th second, in that eternal moment, I make a decision that will define the rest of my life. I lower my hand, the signal that halts execution, the gesture that refuses the order. Squad, order arms. The rifles come down, confusion on the men's faces. They don't understand. This isn't procedure. Daniel opens his eyes, sees the squad lowering rifles, doesn't understand either. Hope and confusion mixing. The battalion commander steps forward, voice hard, angry. "Captain, what are you doing? Execute the order, now!" I turn to face him, my superior officer, the man who can court-martial me for refusing, the man who holds my career, maybe my life. "Sir, I can't. I can't execute this order. I can't kill this kid." His face reddens, anger and disbelief. An officer refusing a direct order, refusing in front of witnesses. "Captain, you will execute the prisoner. That is a direct order. Refuse and you'll face court-martial yourself." The threat is real. Refusing a lawful order in wartime. I could be executed alongside Daniel, could be standing against that wall tomorrow. But I can't do it. Can't give the command, can't watch Daniel die because I ordered it. Court-martial me then, sir, but I won't kill him. I won't execute a terrified 19-year-old for breaking under pressure we can barely understand. The battalion commander's hand moves to his sidearm. For a moment, I think he's going to shoot me himself, going to execute both of us. But he stops. Something in my eyes or voice makes him hesitate, makes him reconsider. The firing squad is watching this confrontation between officers, this breakdown of command structure, this impossible moment. "Captain, desertion must be punished. Discipline must be maintained. If we don't execute Morrison, if we show mercy, others will run." His argument is sound, militarily correct. Desertion must carry consequences or it spreads. I know this. Every officer knows this. Then we court-martial them. We imprison them. We discharge them dishonorably, but we don't execute children for being human, for breaking under inhuman pressure. The words pour out. Years of unspoken doubts about military justice, about death sentences, about killing our own. We've sent these kids into hell, sent them to face artillery and machine guns and death every day. And when one breaks, when fear overwhelms training, we kill them? The battalion commander's listening now, not agreeing, but listening, processing argument he probably had with himself. Sir, Daniel Morrison made a terrible mistake. His cowardice cost 3 lives, but he's 19 years old, a farm kid from Iowa who volunteered, who fought until he couldn't anymore. I turned to look at Daniel, still against the wall, tears streaming down his face, not understanding what's happening, but hoping. We can punish him, dishonorably discharge him, send him home in disgrace, but we don't have to kill him. We don't have to add his death to all the others. The battalion commander stands silent, internal struggle visible. Duty versus doubt, orders versus conscience. Finally he speaks, voice quieter, less certain. Captain, if I spare Morrison, if I commute his sentence, every deserter will claim special circumstances, will expect mercy. Then let 'em, sir. Let 'em claim, let 'em hope, but let 'em live. Let 'em carry the shame of cowardice instead of dying for a moment of human weakness.
The battalion commander stands motionless, weighing a decision that will affect more than just Daniel, that will set a precedent, that will define how we treat desertion for rest of war. The firing squad waits, rifles lowered but ready, willing to execute on command, but also witnessing this debate, this breakdown of absolute military authority. Daniel remains against wall, hope growing but afraid to believe, afraid this is temporary reprieve before inevitable execution. Minutes pass, nobody speaks, tension unbearable. 5 seconds became 5 minutes, became 5 hours of compressed time. Finally, the battalion commander nods. Decision made. Consequences accepted. Captain, you'll take Private Morrison into custody. He will be dishonorably discharged, loss of all pay and allowances, reduction to private, confinement until transport home. Understood? Relief floods through me, overwhelming, crushing. Daniel will live. I didn't kill him. I refused impossible order and survived. Yes, sir. Understood, sir. Thank you, sir. He turns to leave, stops, looks back at me, voice stern but not entirely unkind. Captain, you've disobeyed direct order, refused to execute prisoner. That's court-martial offense, but I'm not going to pursue it. However, you are relieved of command, effective immediately. You'll be transferred to battalion staff. No more field command, no more direct authority over troops. The punishment is clear. I saved Daniel, but lost my company. Lost the command I worked years to earn. Lost the respect of battalion leadership. Yes, sir, I understand. He leaves, walking stiffly, anger and doubt warring in his posture. The firing squad stands uncertain, mission incomplete, prisoner alive, Their captain disgraced. Dismiss them. Squad dismissed. Return to quarters. They leave slowly, some looking at me with contempt, some with confusion, some with something that might be respect. I walk to Daniel, still tied, still against wall, still not quite believing he's alive. Daniel, you're not being executed. You're being discharged. You're going home. He collapses, legs giving way, sobbing, relief and shame mixing into incoherent emotion. I untie his hands, help him stand. He grabs me, hugs me, crying into my shoulder. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. I don't deserve mercy, but thank you. I hold him. This kid I almost killed. This soldier I saved by refusing an order. This human being who gets to live because I chose conscience over duty. Daniel, go home. Live your life. Carry the shame if you must, but live. Make those 3 deaths mean something by living well. The guards take him away, back to stockade until transport. No longer condemned man, but disgraced soldier heading home in shame. I stand alone, dawn fully broken, beautiful morning that almost saw execution, but saw mercy instead. My decision will have consequences. Relieved of command is just the beginning. Reputation damaged, career probably over, but Daniel lives. The company reacts badly. Word spreads quickly. Captain refused to execute deserter, showed weakness, questioned military justice. Some men understand, some agree, but most see it as failure of leadership, as mercy where discipline was needed.
My transfer to battalion staff happens within 24 hours. Stripped of company command, assigned to logistics coordination. Desk job for disgraced officer. The new company commander takes over. Young captain, eager to prove himself, makes it clear he would have executed Daniel without hesitation. The battalion commander barely speaks to me, assigns tasks through subordinates, makes clear I've disappointed him, failed the trust of command. Other officers avoid me, whisper when I pass. I'm pariah, officer who refused order, who chose mercy over discipline. But some, a few, they seek me out privately, tell me they respect the decision, that they couldn't have pulled trigger either. Junior lieutenant, fresh from OCS, asked in quiet conversation whether following orders is always right. Sir, if you'd executed Morrison, if you'd followed orders, could you have lived with it? Could you have commanded knowing you'd killed him? Honest answer is I don't know. Don't know if executing Daniel would have been worse than this exile, this professional death. Lieutenant, I made choice I could live with. That's all any of us can do. Make choices we can carry afterward. He nods, uncertain but thoughtful. Maybe someday he'll face similar choice. Maybe my example helps or hurts. The war continues. I process logistics, coordinate supply, do important work that doesn't require leading men, that doesn't test moral courage. Sometimes I wonder if I was right, if sparing Daniel was actually mercy or just weakness, if discipline really did require his death. News comes 2 months later. Daniel Morrison, dishonorably discharged, sent home to Iowa, living with parents, working farm. Alive, that's what matters. He's alive, wasn't executed for a moment of human weakness.
But there's more news, disturbing news. 2 more desertions in the division since Daniel was spared. Both cited Daniel's case, both expected mercy, both were court-martialed, both were sentenced to hard labor, not execution. The battalion commander's prediction came true. Showing mercy created precedent, created expectation, made desertion seem survivable. But those men lived too, were punished, but not killed, carried shame, but kept their lives. Is that bad? Is that weakness? Or is that recognizing that fear is human, that breaking under pressure doesn't merit death penalty? The division leadership debates new policy. Some want to return to death penalty, want to restore fear of consequences. Others argue mercy showed strength, that treating soldiers as human rather than machines improves morale. No clear answer, no obvious right choice, just competing philosophies about discipline and humanity. I'm called to division headquarters, testify about Daniel's case, about my decision, about consequences. The general asks direct question. Captain, if you had it to do again, would you execute Morrison? Honest answer takes courage, answering before senior leadership who expect certain response. No, sir, I wouldn't. I couldn't live with executing a terrified kid for breaking under pressure none of us can truly understand. The general nods, doesn't agree or disagree, just acknowledges the answer. Captain, you were placed in an impossible position, ordered to execute your own soldier. No commander should face that choice. However, military necessity sometimes demands impossible choices, demands we sacrifice individuals to maintain collective discipline. Your refusal to execute Morrison was understandable, perhaps even commendable, but it was still disobedience, still a rejection of lawful order. You won't be court-martialed, your service record otherwise excellent, but you won't return to field command. You'll finish war on staff.
The war in Europe ends May 1945. Germany surrenders. Massive celebration. Relief that surviving means going home. I'm still on battalion staff, still doing logistics, still marked as officer who refused to execute deserter. My efficiency reports note adequate performance in administrative duties, damning with faint praise. Career effectively over. Daniel Morrison sent me a letter in March, forwarded through military mail. First contact since his discharge. Captain, I don't know if you'll read this, don't know if you want to hear from me, but I need to say thank you. I think about that morning every day, standing against that wall, watching the rifles come up, thinking I had seconds to live. Then you stopped it. You refused the order. You saved my life when I didn't deserve saving. I'm home now, working the farm, helping my parents, living quietly, carrying shame of what I did. Everyone in town knows I deserted, knows I was court-martialed, knows I was supposed to be executed. The shame is constant. But I'm alive. I wake up every morning grateful for that. Grateful you gave me chance to live, to try to make amends. I can't undo what I did, can't bring back the men who died because I ran, can't erase my cowardice. But I can live, can try to be better, can honor their memory by making my life worth the mercy you showed. Thank you, Captain. Thank you for seeing me as human, for refusing to kill me, for carrying the burden of that choice. Reading his letter, I cry. First time since that morning, releasing tension I've carried for 11 months. Daniel lives. He's building a life. He's grateful. And maybe that justifies everything. Justifies disobeying order. Justifies ending career. Justifies all of it. I write back a short letter, telling him to live well, to honor the second chance, to make the mercy meaningful. Tell him I don't regret the choice, even with the consequences, even with the career damage. I'd make the same decision again. His survival, his gratitude, his continued existence, that's worth more than any promotion or commendation. I returned to civilian life in June '45. Discharge papers note adequate service. No medals for refusing to execute soldiers. Return to Ohio. Hometown doesn't know my story, doesn't know about Daniel, just knows I served, survived, came home. I try civilian work, various jobs, can't settle, can't find purpose after military service. Eventually become teacher, high school history, teaching kids about wars, about service, about impossible choices. Sometimes I tell them about Daniel, without using names, without identifying details, just the moral question. If you're ordered to do something legal but wrong, something duty demands but conscience rejects, what do you do? The students debate. Some say follow orders. Some say refuse. None have easy answers. There aren't easy answers. There's just the choice you make, the burden you carry, the person you become based on that choice. I tell them I chose conscience over duty, that it cost me career but saved a life, that I still don't know if it was right, but know I couldn't have done otherwise. Some understand, some don't. Some will face similar choices someday, and maybe my example helps them. Years pass. 1950s. Cold War replacing hot war. My teaching career stable, life quiet. But that morning never leaves. I dream about it sometimes, standing before Daniel, about to give command, frozen in that 5th second. Sometimes I give the order, watch him die, wake up haunted by what I didn't do. Sometimes I refuse again, but this time the battalion commander executes us both, my mercy becoming murder-suicide. The dreams are random, unpredictable. My subconscious processing unresolved guilt, unresolved doubt about whether I was right. 1957, Daniel writes again. Now married, wife and 2 children, still farming Iowa land. Captain, I wanted you to know I got married. My wife knows what happened, knows I deserted, knows I was going to be executed. She says you saved not just me, but our family, our children who wouldn't exist if you'd followed orders. My son is 5, daughter is 3. They're beautiful. They're alive because you refused to kill me. I tell them about you, about the captain who chose mercy, who saved my father when he didn't deserve saving. They don't understand yet, too young, but someday they'll know that their existence depended on one man's choice in 1944. His letter includes photograph. Daniel, older but healthy, wife beside him, 2 small children, a family that wouldn't exist if I'd executed him. I stare at that photograph for hours. Those children, those futures, that life spreading from single decision. If I'd executed Daniel, those children never born, that wife never married, that family never created. But also, if I'd executed Daniel, discipline maintained, maybe fewer desertions, maybe fewer deaths from unmanned positions. The moral calculus is impossible. Weighing one life against many, weighing mercy against discipline, weighing humanity against necessity. I keep the photograph, frame it, display it in my study, a reminder of what my choice created, what my mercy allowed. Sometimes students ask about it. I tell them partial truth. Family of a soldier I served with, family I helped save. 1968, Daniel writes again. Now both children grown, son preparing for college, daughter married. Captain, Vietnam is happening. Young men being drafted, facing combat. I watch the news and remember France. My son got draft notice. He's terrified, thinks about running, thinks about desertion, and I don't know what to tell him. Part of me wants to say run, don't go, don't face what I faced. But that would dishonor what you did for me. You saved me so I could live honorably, so I could make my life worth the mercy. Running again would betray that. So I told him about you, about that morning, about how you chose mercy, but also about why I was there, about what my desertion cost. Told him courage isn't absence of fear, it's facing fear. It's not running even when every instinct screams to run. He's going, reporting for induction next month, scared but determined. Your example somehow reaching through 24 years to influence him. Daniel's son serves in Vietnam, survives his tour, comes home, builds a life. Another generation touched by that choice. Another life shaped by refusing impossible order.
The 1970s bring reflection. I'm in my 50s, teaching career ending, retirement approaching. I write memoir, trying to process war experience, trying to understand choices I made, trying to justify or condemn my own actions. The chapter about Daniel is hardest, most painful, most uncertain. I write multiple versions, one condemning my weakness, one celebrating my humanity, one agnostic about right and wrong. None feel true, none capture the complexity, the impossible nature of the choice. Finally, I write it honest. No judgment, no justification, just description of what happened, what I chose, what I carry. I don't know if I was right. Don't know if sparing Daniel Morrison was mercy or weakness. Don't know if military discipline required his death. I just know I couldn't pull the trigger, couldn't give the order, couldn't live with executing a terrified 19-year-old. That choice cost me my command, damaged my career, marked me as officer who refused orders, but it let Daniel live. Whether that was right, whether it was worth it, I'll never know with certainty. But I know Daniel raised a family, built the life, made his second chance meaningful. I know his children exist because I refused. I know his grandchildren carry forward life I preserved. And I know I can look in the mirror. I can live with myself. I can accept the consequences of choosing conscience over duty. The memoir isn't published, too personal, too controversial, but writing it helps, gives structure to memories, creates coherent narrative from chaos. I share chapters with former students, now adults, some veterans themselves, some facing moral choices in their lives. They tell me it helps, understanding that authority figures struggle too, that impossible choices exist, and sometimes there is no right answer. Daniel and I begin correspondence, regular letters, a friendship developing from shared trauma. He visits Ohio in 1976, our first face-to-face meeting since that morning, 32 years earlier. We're middle-aged men now, no longer young officer and terrified private, no longer locked in that impossible moment. We sit in my study, look at a photograph of his family, talk about everything and nothing. Finally, he asks the question that's haunted him. "Captain, do you regret saving me? Do you wish you'd followed orders?" Honest answer requires thought, requires acknowledging complexity. "Daniel, I regret being put in that position. Regret that military justice demanded your death. Regret that duty and conscience conflicted. But do I regret choosing to spare you? No, I don't regret that. Seeing you alive, seeing your family, that justifies everything." He cries, relief and gratitude, finally hearing affirmation he's sought for 3 decades. "I've carried guilt all these years. Guilt for deserting, guilt for causing your career damage, guilt for being weakness that hurt discipline. But seeing you now, hearing you don't regret it, that helps, that makes the guilt bearable." We embrace, 2 men bound by impossible moment, by choice that defined us both, by mercy that transcended military necessity. After he leaves, I sit alone, thinking about paths not taken, about alternate histories, about what if I had executed him, maintained discipline, protected my career, proven myself a strong leader. I'd be a different person, harder, colder, more willing to sacrifice individuals for collective good. But I also wouldn't be able to live with myself, wouldn't be able to sleep, wouldn't be able to justify killing Daniel to maintain order.
Retirement comes in 1980, 40 years after that morning in France, a lifetime of carrying one decision. I've taught thousands of students, influenced countless lives, built a career on foundation of moral courage demonstrated by refusing impossible order. But that morning never leaves, never fades, never becomes just memory. It's present tense, eternal now, forever 5 seconds from giving command. Sometimes veterans visit my classroom, talk about their service, about choices they faced, about carrying war home. I tell them about Daniel, about refusing to execute, about choosing conscience over duty. Some agree, some criticize, some are just grateful someone admits that perfect choices don't exist. Vietnam veterans especially, they understand impossible orders, understand tension between duty and humanity, understand carrying choices forever. One veteran, bitter, angry, confronts me after class. "You were weak. You should have executed him. Desertion must be punished or everyone runs." His anger is real. His belief is genuine. And maybe he's right. Maybe military necessity did require Daniel's death. But I stand by my choice. Maybe I was weak. Maybe discipline required his death. But I couldn't do it. Couldn't kill a kid for being human. The veteran leaves angry, unconvinced. Maybe he's right to be. Maybe I failed fundamental duty of command. But then another veteran approaches, quiet, thoughtful. "Sir, I was ordered to do things in Vietnam, things that were legal but wrong, things that haunt me. I wish I'd had your courage, wish I'd refused, wish I'd chosen conscience like you did." His words help, validate the choice, suggest that refusing impossible orders takes more courage than following them. 1990. Daniel writes final letter. He's dying. Cancer. Terminal. Months to live. "Captain, I'm dying. Doctors say 6 months maximum. And I wanted to thank you one last time. I've lived 46 years since that morning. 46 years I wouldn't have had if you'd followed orders. I raised 4 children, saw them grow, saw them have children, built a life worth living. All because you chose mercy, because you refused to kill me, because you valued my life over your career. I'm not afraid to die now. I've lived a full life. I've made the mercy meaningful. I've tried to honor your choice. Thank you, Captain. Thank you for everything. Thank you for seeing me as human when military justice saw me as a deserter." His letter is goodbye. Final acknowledgement of the debt he carried, final expression of gratitude that sustained him. I write back immediately, tell him he made the choice worthwhile, that his life justified everything, that I'm honored to have saved him. Daniel dies November 1990, buried in Iowa, family and community attending. A veteran's funeral, despite dishonorable discharge. His son sends me notification, invites me to the funeral. I attend, meet the family, see the legacy of that morning's choice. 4 children, 9 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, all existing because I refused an order in 1944. The math is simple, impossible, profound. One choice, one moment of mercy, cascading into dozens of lives. I'm 94 years old now. Daniel has been dead 31 years. That morning in France was 80 years ago. But I remember every detail, every second of those 5 seconds, every thought, every doubt, every reason to execute, and every reason to refuse. The military never forgave me. My service record notes the incident, the refusal, the relief from command. No medals for choosing conscience. No commendations for valuing life over discipline. Just notation of disobedience. But Daniel's family remembers. They send cards. They visit. They tell their children about the captain who saved their grandfather. His great-grandchildren, teenagers now, know the story, know their existence depends on mercy shown 80 years ago. They ask me sometimes, was it hard to refuse? Was I scared? Do I regret it? It was the hardest thing I ever did. Harder than combat, harder than leading men into battle, harder than facing death. Because it required choosing myself, choosing my conscience over my duty, choosing to bear consequences of refusing order. And yes, I was scared, terrified, knew I might be court-martialed, might be executed alongside Daniel. But I couldn't do it, couldn't kill him, couldn't live with myself if I had. Do I regret it? No, never. Seeing his family, knowing those lives exist because of that choice, that's worth everything. The military historians debate my case now, write papers about military justice, about death penalty for desertion, about impossible orders. Some say I was right, that military law was too harsh, that death penalty for desertion was barbaric. Some say I was wrong, that discipline requires harsh punishment, that my mercy encouraged more desertions. Both are probably true. Both miss the point. The point isn't whether I was right or wrong. The point is, I made the only choice I could live with. This is my confession. 80 years after refusing to execute Private Daniel Morrison, about 5 seconds between receiving order and giving it, about choosing conscience over duty, about living with consequences. The war created impossible situations, put man in positions where every choice was wrong, where duty and humanity conflicted irreconcilably. I was ordered to kill my own soldier, to execute a terrified kid for breaking under pressure we still barely understand. I refused, lost my command, damaged my career, marked myself as officer who disobeyed orders. But Daniel lived, built family, made his second chance meaningful, created a legacy of life spreading from single moment of mercy. Was I right? Was I wrong? I'll never know with certainty. But I know I couldn't have done otherwise. No, I couldn't have looked Daniel in the eyes and ordered his death. No, I couldn't have lived with pulling that trigger. Couldn't have continued commanding, knowing I'd executed one of my own men. So I chose mercy, chose humanity, chose to bear professional consequences rather than moral ones. Daniel died 31 years ago. Natural death at 72. Full life. Honored grandfather. Man who made his second chance count. I'm dying soon. Old age catching up. Preparing to face whatever judgment comes, human or divine or self-imposed. And I face it knowing I made the right choice for me. Maybe not the right choice for military. Maybe not the right choice for discipline. But the right choice for living with myself. Those 5 seconds between order and refusal. Those 5 seconds defined my life, shaped who I became, created a legacy I carry. Daniel lived. his family exists. His great-grandchildren walk the earth, all because I refused an impossible order. That's my story. That's my confession. That's what I want remembered. The captain who refused to execute, who chose mercy over duty, who lived with consequences rather than regret. Those 5 seconds I'll carry forever. The choice that cost me command but saved a life. The decision I'd make again and again and again.